All right. Hello, everybody. It's I, Peerless Drew. I'm here to talk to you about Devil Savior's DS-01 Split. Now, this is a very accurate, very clear representation of Mixmaster from Revenge of the Fallen. But it is not without its issues, and we will discuss them as I transform this once in one direction into head mode, where I suspect it will stay that way forever. So we'll get into it. The way the hips work, the way it plugs in, I could see that getting that joint getting looser and looser over time, and it's ironic that his name is Split because he would become very prone to doing a split. It's a funny figure, and in fact, to transform it, I'm going to have to step away for a moment. Third, BRB need tools. I will be right back because I forgot my tool. Alright, I'm back. Let's try again. Here's the critical piece of hardware that I forgot to bring with me. A small Phillips screwdriver. Because, in their infinite wisdom, Devil Savior decided that this wheel mount would be set onto a threaded screw. Which means, depending on which way you turn the wheel mount, it'll just get looser and looser over time. Because God forbid they have it be a pin. But it is what it is. Most people that get this are probably not going to be too enthusiastic about transforming it a lot. I've probably transformed it more than anybody. It's a little tedious. I wanted to address something that I didn't get to in the video when my freaking camera died. I just got my new camera today, so I'm back in business. But this mixer, in fact, later on when we go to stuff the gun inside it, all these hinges get in the way, and the instructions don't address these hinges at all. But it seems like it's set up so that like this can fold over, and then this can partially fold over too. And so you can create something that looks a little better from the back. And also you can, there's another hinge that's never used in the instructions, but you can kind of droop the shoulder down. And I would have done all that for the final turnaround if my camera hadn't died. But there are those hinges, and they exist, and maybe that's what they were for. I don't know. But without any further ado, let's get to transforming this. Oh, another note about this. Get this crap off of here. I was trying to. This tab hole here is supposed to go on this peg here. Now, you'll see the peg is a little gnarly, and there's a reason for that. But it's just a real tight fit. And I also noticed that it, instead of this bucket laying flat, you can't line up that hole with the peg with this laying flat. You actually have to kind of let it come out a little bit, and then you can maybe plug it in. But what I did is there's this little gap here, so I used a pair of pliers to burr this a little bit so that it's not quite square, and I find that I can plug it into that slot, the top of that slot, fairly well, and it'll hold fairly well and keep everything flat. So that's how I tab it together. It's not the official way, but that's what I do. This thing has its flaws because you shouldn't have to spend that much time being like a model hobbyist trying to get everything to like fit together properly. But it is what it is. Canon mode is pretty much just the legs folded up for truck mode, so we'll just kind of fart around with these legs for the next 50 fucking minutes. But basically you have to splay the legs out, rotate the hips inverted, and then you want these articulated out as far as they go, because there's a lot of leg that has to go in between. And then we'll do the same on the other side. This thing is a real pain in the ass. They left it with a lot of clearance issues that you can avoid, but only by going through a convoluted series of steps. I had some people saying the video didn't make a lot of sense, and I'm like, well, the figure doesn't make a lot of sense. What I'm going to do is just turn these around. I'm probably going to forget which way they go, but I'm sorry. The video, I got it as clear as I could, and it's easy to forget what the steps are for this thing. These are like little guns. They don't serve much of a purpose outside of reinforcing the backs of the legs. In the instructions, they kind of give you places you can park them in the other modes, but I just don't care. They go on the back of the legs to reinforce the leg, and then I don't care. This is a slot joint. It never occurred to me that this slid before. Huh. Just another joint. It's not a mushroom peg sliding. They literally included this slide joint for some reason. I don't know. Your goal though is to have this notch be towards the inside, because this hump here is going to fit into that notch. Is the transformation worth it? No, it's very frustrating. They shove, you know, what's the old saying? They shove 15 pounds of shit into a 5-pound sack on this one. But you really have to manipulate this, because this is just a solid piece, and it zigzags over, and it gets caught on everything. So what you have to do is, while the feet, I'll go ahead and fold the toe, and then fold up this other toe. But while the foot is still flat, not folded up yet, you got to tilt the foot, and then bring this past while you still have clearance, and then tilt it back. And then you can start collapsing things. For this part to collapse, you need to here. Now, it helps to just kind of aim this before you commit to the rotation, you know. But you're just trying to aim this problem piece above the hips, right? And then the wheel can go here as soon as we finish rotating, really. This is kind of a false bumper that sits behind the truck bumper, but it goes like that. And then this wheel can kind of tab in right here. But like I said, it gets loose all the time because it's a threaded screw. So you get engaged in a little hobbying to get this stupid thing. And I imagine the screw would strip out eventually. So this is probably not a piece that you would want to transform a lot. But once you get it over the hip here, then you can rotate this back to the center. And we're ready. This is one leg done. So let's do the other one, see if we can. So I'm just going to rotate this part of the leg so we're facing the groove that this hump is going to go into. We're going to tilt the foot and then flip this past and leave it like that. Go ahead and flip up the toe while we're at it. Now we can fold the foot down and fold the leg over. And we just want to, it's a pain in the ass, but you just want to aim this piece over the hip. And you can pretty much avoid any part scraping, but it's a challenge. And then we'll tighten the wheel, probably for the last time I ever tighten this wheel. Like I said, the screw will strip out eventually. So I guess be careful not to over tighten it. And then we can rotate this back and get this arranged in roughly the vicinity of where it's supposed to go. And then this slot and tab was real tight at first, but you just got to have a little faith. If you can get it tabbed and flat, it helps a lot with the way the vehicle stitches together later. And then we're shooting for gun mode here, so we're just kind of arranging things, but you can kind of put the wheel wells over like this, and then rotate this up. The arms go up. These kind of go up like this. This came untabbed, so I'm just going to put it back if I can. Kind of tilt the head down out of the way, and then, you know, you do something with the arms. You know, you can put them like this, whatever. So he will do a turret mode of sorts. I mean, it's not too bad. It's better than the original toy. And of course, the new version of Mixmaster doesn't even have a turret mode. So, and you could probably fiddle with the arms and arrange them so the turret mode sits a little flatter, but it's turret mode. Who cares? Let's continue on to truck mode. So the first thing I'm going to do is get this out of the way. And we can, you know, someone commented, what did Fans Toys design this? And it's like, yeah, right. There are a lot of stupid little transport linkages. So there's this. You'll just have to contend with it. With that out of the way, you can rotate the cab around. And it has its own, they're thicker, but they're still transport linkages. You see that? And so that's going to collapse down into the cab. So let's just get the wheel wells out of the way, and we'll just get the cab sorted right away. One problem this thing has is you have these pegs. You can see one hanging down right there. And they need to go in holes in the back, but you can't just push down on the cab because the whole thing is very, like this whole thing is very floppy. So what you have to do, and you kind of have to do it anyway, but you can get these out of the way and go ahead and fold out these bumpers, which you can't do without unfolding the whole cab out. But you get the bumpers sorted. But at least it gives you now some purchase, so you can push on this to tab it down. And woe unto you if you get it all tabbed down and then partway through it comes untabbed, because you will be opening up the hood again and re-tabbing the whole thing again. Real pain in the ass. I'm having a little trouble getting this one to go in. But everything has to be pushed together real good. You can tab in the wheels to this. Maybe. It likes to pop out. Make sure all this stays together for later. One saving grace, though, is going from truck to head mode is really actually kind of fun, and doesn't have the same issues other than having to deal with the legs again. But it's kind of fun how the head explodes out of the truck cab. Getting the wheel well tab can be a bit of a challenge, but I've discovered that the best way to do it is to get the back peg tabbed first. And this whole thing has to kind of get in front of there, right there. But we get the back peg tabbed first, and then we kind of curl it a little bit and tab the front peg. So, and then we'll just tighten this stupid screw again. I have a feeling it's starting to strip, so like I said, I don't imagine I'll transform this much more after today. It's not a delight to transform. It's not like Dragoon, where it's like, oh, that's just so elegant and amazing. This is very brute force. I try to forgive them a little bit because it's a kind of a quadruple changer, but it's a pain in the ass. All right. So this slide area has to be on the bottom, so we're going to rotate the cab around. And we rotate this down. Oh, yeah. There's these little ornamental decorative angle panels that you have to get out of the way. In the instructions, they say to like re-engage them at the bottom, but I don't care. I don't do it. They kind of get in the way of the trackway anyway, and whatever. but we can kind of stitch everything up there. You have to send them this way. If you send them the other way, there's just not enough clearance, so you have to send them down instead of up. And we'll just tab that in. And then this comes untabbed constantly, because it's the fit and finish on it, I suspect, is not quite right, or maybe they designed it without the paint job in mind, so the paint thickness gets in the way of some of the tabbing. It's a bit of a pain in the ass. So we get to the arms, and the arms are atrocious because you got to do them in the right order. I'm just going to put the head back where it belongs. But our goal here is to try to keep this in that position. It's not a very tight joint, so it'll just flop all over the place. So what we're going to do... try to remember the sequence, you know, it's complicated. We're just gonna get these out of the way. We're gonna stand up these posts. I didn't know what else to do with them, so I just kind of put them inside the arm. But they don't seem to serve much of a purpose other than helping you orient the multiple joints here, because there is a rotation here, but then this is itself a rotation, so God help you. But the goal here is to get this thing pointed so that it's facing parallel with the head, the shoulder mount, you know? You want it like that. And then we need to un-Z this. There's like a little Z joint here. Let's see if we can point it out. There's a little Z joint here. It's like another linkage, you know? But we're just gonna pop that loose and bring it around, I think. I hope I don't have to undo this in a minute. But I just send it all the way around so it's Z'd like that. There's a picture for you people that are trying to follow along with yours. You want it in this direction, I think. We'll find out in a second. So we want to lower this down. This stays parallel. And then... was I right about the Z? Yeah, I think so. And then you have to get the arm out of the way, because our goal is to rotate this drum assembly in the correct direction. Just trying to make sure everything stays where it's supposed to be. But in the video, you see me kind of get this out of the way. Because there's only clearance to do this drum at this point, you know? So you're keeping this parallel, keeping it parallel, trying to keep this joint like this, and we're just going to rotate the drum all the way up like that, right? And then we can take the arms and we can just kind of, let's get this one fixed up. Just unzing the drum on this side. Clearance issues, clearance issues. Okay. Sending the Z all the way around. And then we just keep fighting with this thing to be in the position it's supposed to be in. But we get the arms out of the way. And we rotate the drum this way, which is the confusing part, because it gets stuck in this direction. You might think, oh, it'd be easier to send it this way. You can't. So you got to get the arms out of the way and send it all the way around the other way. But I just like it pointing up at a slight angle, best I can. It just keeps them out of the way for a little bit. And then you can collapse the Z so it's straight. You see the Z all articulated. That was just to lift it up and give it enough clearance to rotate around, but then you can kind of flatten it down. And you want to do the same over here. We're just trying to get the wheels the same way. So I'm just going to flatten it. So there it is, pulled up, and if we straighten that joint I told you about that's loose, then we're back to here. We just want these lifted up a little bit. Fun, huh? Fun transformation. Just like Dragoon. So then We want to lift the... I tend to collapse these a little bit. You have to be careful when you're trying to push this down, because if you put your finger over the retaining screw, you're just pushing against your own finger. So you have to make sure you offset your finger so that you can, you know, collapse this down if you want to. And then you can push on the stem itself to pop it back up, so you don't have to pull on it. But I like to just flip these all the way over to the side, and I like to keep the hands just out of the way for now. But our goal here, and let's do a positioning check here. You are on the right track if these silver things, these silver design details are pointing at each other. Maybe if anyone's watching this video, just give them a real good look at how things are arranged at this point. You want these pistons on top of the arm. So you don't want the arm flipped over the other way. This whole part is what rotates. You'd have to rotate the drum to get the arm wrong, but I could see someone just getting completely lost. So we're just making those arms 90 degrees at that point. Flipping this out of the way. And then this flips out so that this can rotate freely now. And ultimately our goal is to have this thing like this. So it should be about like that. And we're just going to fold the whole arm over. Now there is a tab and a slot. So there's a slot right there in this ornament. And then there's a tab right there. And the tab does ostensibly go in the slot, but so many other things have to happen afterwards that there's not much chance the tab's actually going to stay in that slot. But it's just a guidance. It's not like a click tab or anything. It's just to give you where you're supposed to have it. And then we can flip this over. And the whole thing ends up at an angle. So you want to make sure that it's kind of like that. But right now we're going to have it up a little bit so that we can flip this over. So again, I'm not going to get in the way of this hat screw. I'm just going to make sure I pop this down. There's a tab here, and it's really hard to kind of show you, but you can see there's a slot there, right there. And this tab kind of folds over into that slot. And it's easier to do the whole thing if you have it, if you have this is the final position probably, approximately. But just have it up a little bit so you can fit this notch, fit it around the round part of the arm instead of having to fit it around the square part. But we're just trying to get that tab to pop into the socket. So I'm putting my finger right over the tab, and I'm collapsing it all the way and making sure it pops on there. And you can see I've left that out like that. But then we can rotate this down, and it doesn't really have a proper place to sit, but the best advice I can give you is this flat part of the notch needs to line up pretty much with where it starts to get thick, where it's trying to look like a truck instead of an arm. And that's pretty much it for this arm. So what we're going to do is we can lower the drum down, and there's some tabs there, you can see. And the tabs tab into the drum. And now we've got one side stitched together. And we can look at the reverse and see it does kind of tab in right there. This is what it's supposed to look like inside. So we're just going to do the, with maybe less commentary, I'm just going to get this one taken care of. Pain in the ass. I mean, the resulting truck is, you know, a gorgeous looking version of a Mac cement mixer, you know. It's, oh, I forgot to flip that out. There we go. And then we can manipulate it down into the groove there, just touching, just kind of right there. And then we can lower the drum down and get this side pegged. Not too bad. And then but because they have all those hinges that, again, they don't mention in the instructions at all, you can't just stick the gun in because the hinges would be in the way. So we have to leave this thing untabbed. And what we're going to do is bring this linkage around. So it's just like Fans Toys. Just like it. It doesn't really sit any place proper along the way. It just kind of goes there. And then there's these asymmetrical sort of notches that go around the lobes of these things. You probably have to be careful not to rip these things off. But what we're going to do is get ready for that. We're going to get the gun folded up like this. We're going to stick it in past the hinges. And then we're going to work on getting both of these pressed over that. So that's how it's supposed to be. And the instructions say you can kind of fold these out, but I mean, this thing ain't going anywhere. And another problem is the drums have a tendency to overlap each other right here. And so, how do I fix it? I don't know. But you have to get them, you have to get those two segments, there you go, facing each other like that. And now we got to stitch the drum together, which is a different thing. I find that it helps to just get rid of these parts for the moment, which is why I do that in the video. And you have a notch, you have kind of a peg. You can see the peg and a hole, an angled peg and an angled hole. So we start with that one. There's another one at the front of this segment of the drum. So you can see the other peg right there. So we're just getting both of those pegs engaged, and it just really helps to be able to manipulate these pieces directly instead of having this shit laying on top of it. And then we can do the front of the drum, and it just has to get around the head there. The head has to kind of nestle in there. And that's how you can stitch up the drum real clean. And then we can put these back where they belong, and they actually peg together too. And the whole thing doesn't seem to quite line up, but you can peg these together. I imagine those pegs would kind of wear out over time. We can arrange the ladder to the side. We take these things and unfold them, and there's a socket, and there's a tab there on the right behind the tank, and so that makes the truck a little more rigid, so that it's straight. It's crazy to think that I'm going to do a one-way video, not doing both directions, and then I take the hands. I like to, they won't quite lay flat like that, so what I like to do is overextend them a little this way, and that way the fingers, the longest finger kind of nestles in there. There you have a truck. If everything else didn't come untabbed, it would be great. Right. Let's check comments, and then we'll adventure on into the head mode. Well, I transform things completely. I don't know if you know me. All right, it's time to go to head mode. So what I like to do is curl the hands over, untab these things and fold them over, untab the smokestacks, and yeah, lift them up like this. And I just like, there doesn't seem to be any particular guidance, and my opinion on where these go might change when you actually mount it to the other piece. But for now, it seems sensible to me to kind of point the smokestacks inside there. This seems to be the mount plate for the combined mode, so hopefully they're not in the way that way, but you could always tweak them as necessary. So, we'll just get the wheel wells disengaged. It's interesting, the hinges are along the same line, so I suppose you could peg these wheel wells in and then just raise this whole thing up together along with the wheel wells, but whatever. One thing we do need to do before we run into clearance issues later is turn the whole thing upside down. And I'm just freeing this up because this would have to be open anyway in the opposite direction, because again, you have to have that open in order to tab the legs in properly. Now this is a pain in the ass, like the rest isn't. I just like to get all this stuff out of the way, and we're trying to fight the legs again. So we're going to untab them, and then I like to walk this remember that hinge that was like the hip rotation hinge right there? I like to walk it up and then also turn the leg over like this. And the other side can kind of go similarly, but in this case, so these two things don't collide, I'm just going to have this one kind of staged. So this one's 90 degrees opposite of this one. Let's just focus on this one for now. So we need to get these past here, and it's not too bad if you've gotten to this point. If you just aim them on past the top of the hip, and then you fold this 90 degrees, and by gum, you're clear. Flip this up for now. So we need to refold the legs in a different manner. So I'm going to lift this up. We're going to tilt the foot because we need to get this thing past the leg, and then we can tilt the foot back, and then we can anyway, hold on. So we need to fold at this point, this big joint that hasn't been used yet. Now we fold there, and then we fold this over. We're trying to fold it so it shoots past there, and then this folds down, or rather, yeah, I don't know. I just don't even know anymore. Okay, so like this. Alright, and then this folds down like this, and then the wheel is going to sit like this. But this essentially is your goal. And then we can rotate it around. And there's a peg here, and a hole matches the other side. So we're just trying to get both of these legs into this curled up, this new curled configuration. So here's a good look at it for those of you who are trying to follow along with yours. This is where you want to be. Now we can rotate this leg. We can do the little trick where we get the thing past the top of the hip so we don't have clearance issues. Let's get that out of the way. And then we're going to refold the leg there. We got to tilt, before we fold the foot up, we got to tilt this and shoot this past. And then we can tilt it back, and then the foot can fold up. And then the whole thing, such a pain in the ass. This. Flip that up. And then we can take both of these legs, and the reason they had all these extra joints near the hips is so that the legs can now sit closer together. So see if I can get a good shot of that. And our goal here is to tab the two legs together, and it just kind of forms the back of the head. So it's just something to do with the legs. And so here's our goal. I'm never quite sure what to do with these, so I'll show you what I came up with, and you can decide for yourself if you like that. Somehow that completely came out. So did this one, Jesus Christ. So let's just put those away again. Just out of the way. All right, so once you get past the legs, you can breathe a sigh of relief because the rest of the head ain't that bad. So we're going to flip these out. We're going to completely unfold these double hinges on the hood, and we're going to flip the hood pieces over, and then you want to arrange it, just joints upon joints, you want to arrange it so it's like that. So we'll do the other one like that. We just want to leave these like 90 degrees out to the side for now. And then you flip up the doors about 90 degrees. And you can flip the jaw out of the way. And then these actually slide down on sliders. And these are just ornaments to look like part of the head, I guess. All right. And now we want the wheels. The wheels don't really tab in anywhere, but they just kind of hang down like this. And there's actually holes in the hubs of the wheels, and these pegs, these annoying pegs that we use to plug into the legs in vehicle mode. Maybe give these one more tighten before they just fall off. They really are getting worn out. So this folds at the hinge there, you can see. And we just want to work the peg into each of the hubs. Pain in the ass. Alright. I don't imagine any of these videos are going to have people running out to buy this, but it should look really cool combined. That's all I know. Alright, so then these parts go back first. And we get into what I want to do with the wheel things, but I just kind of like to throw them over like that. And then you lift this up. So now the doors are basically inside out. We can bring this over and tab it into the side of the head. And we can lift this up and bring this over and tab it into the side of the head. It still looks a little too much like doors, so these flip down. And then the jaw comes up. These kind of the corner of the jaw ornaments rotate out. They peg into here. And then, of course, you lift this out and turn it around. Make sure the drum's still tabbed. And there you have the combiner head. It's pretty cool. It does have a limited neck rotation. They give you more stops on that rotation than you can actually accomplish with all the crap in the way. But it does at least let you articulate the head a little bit when it's in combined mode. It's got the big jaw and then a secondary smaller jaw. It has a feature. Oh, I forgot to do this. I do it in the video too. You'll see these like snap back to the wrong position, starting like in head mode, but they're supposed to be back like this. I spent a good portion of the video with them like this, and then when I realized it, I just kind of cheated. But I'm sorry. But to simulate the sort of really aggressive posture he takes later on, we can untab these here to give us a little clearance. You can untab the lower jaws and have them split out. You can untab the medium jaws and have them split out. And then the whole head is on sliders. And so the whole head can split in half, so where it's like, oh. But I like to leave the whole thing tabbed together. It looks a little better. It looks a little cleaner. But they did include that feature so that the whole thing can kind of split in half. Hence the name. And there you have it. I have returned this thing to head mode where it will stay for the rest of time. Unless I get, you know, masochistic and curious and decide to transform it 3 years from now. And apologies to anyone who was hoping I would transform it in the other direction. I guess watch the video. Can I do a comparison with Studio Series Mixmaster? Let me remember where I have that. I can. Give me a minute. I'll be right back. Seems like an apt comparison. Alright, well I started to assemble this guy, so I'm not going to try to take the whole thing apart, but this will give you kind of a size comparison. So this is Studio Series, and you can see the Devil Savior is quite a bit larger. Here we compare the two cement mixers, put them at the same distance from the camera so you can get a good idea of scale. And so, I don't know, he's about 30% bigger. I mean, if you want to have a Mixmaster that's not quite so painful to play with, then you should definitely go with the Studio Series Devastator. The next Devil Savior figure that comes out is actually this guy. I'm hoping he's not quite as painful as this guy was. There's always a chance that if that one is just that painful, then I might just abandon the whole project. But this one's a quadruple changer. Maybe the other ones won't be quite so bad. Yeah, that's what I was saying, Shark. I hope they're not this bad. They're all just basic triple changers, at least. They didn't include all the extra joints this one needed to do what it does. I mean, it's a nice effect. I mean, it's a really nice head for Devastator. A lot of nice details. The paint details on this are very nice. There's a lot of like weathering detail. I mean, when it's a cement mixer, I mean, it looks like a picture of an actual cement mixer. So I mean, they did a really fine job with this thing in terms of the look of it. The transformation it's sloppy and ad hoc, so it's a little bit like Fans Toys. Probably worse than any Fans Toys I've ever had. Yeah, it should be really big. I think it's supposed to be about 17 inches tall. So, I mean, two of my hands, it's going to be that tall. I mean, I don't know how to put it on. It's going to be twice as tall as this, as the frame. And this is going to be way up here. It's going to be pretty big. So you got the Max Mox, you got the Make Toys Meteor. I have a video of that. Not that it's that hard to figure out. Had a fan loan him to me. In fact, that same fan loaned me like 7 different things. It was quite nice to have when I was in a slump where Chosen Prime was choosing not to communicate with me or send me anything. And Ratchet, I guess you're talking about MP Ratchet. It's a nice figure. I wish that was right on the edge of them doing their like cartoon accurate versus toy accurate aesthetic. Maybe someday they'll give us like a renewed one, but it's close. It'll do the thing. Whew. So I don't know. How long has this been so far? Where is the thing that tells me how long I've been playing? I don't know. I don't know. I could have sworn there was something that told me how long I've been doing this. Why does it not display that? Anyway, I started around 6:30, so I probably spent the better part of an hour transforming that damn thing for the last time. But it'll look real cool. It'll look real cool when I put it all together on my shelf and stuff. My Meteor came with a colored construction sheet and a black and white one, weirdly. And I'm not sure about that. I didn't get the Meteor new. I got it loaned to me, so maybe that guy already took those things out. I actually did a video for Ironhide and Meteor, so you got those if you have any trouble with them. Ironhide has a couple of clearance issues that if you do it in the right order you can avoid, but not a big deal. Now I gotta make sure I don't lose these things. This robot mode won't really stand up without these reinforcing. You're supposed to be able to tab them onto this, but it's just a pain in the ass. Just yet another pain in the ass. It really doesn't want to tab. So maybe I can find some other thing to do with them, you know. Hide them inside the cement mixer. There's not really enough room to stick them in. I don't know. They're dumb. It's almost ad hoc. It seems ad hoc too. Like they were almost like, oh my god, the legs can't stand by themselves. We better reinforce them. We'll just make a thing. For your reference, in truck mode, and you can see it in the video. But in... What happened to the other one just now? Okay. You can actually put these together. And then they sit between the smokestacks in truck mode on the back of the cab. La-di-da. I guess I'll put them together, and then I'll put them over here, and they'll sit there for months, because I'll forget them. Pretty interesting. Thank you. For some reason on my console here, I can't see what I'm at. I don't have much else to discuss now, though. Now that I've done this guy. I'm sure as shit not going to transform him again. So we'll do final questions. I don't have any new MPs right now. We're in a dead zone, so I'm going to catch up on some Studio Series stuff. I'm thinking I'll probably do Studio Series Long Haul, just to catch up on that Devastator. And I also need to do Studio Series, whatever his name is, the big red guy I just showed you. What's his name? Scavenger? Maybe. So I'll catch up on Studio Series. I've got maybe some other MPs that have just never gotten shot, so I'll think of something to do. I got my payment notification for the add-on set for MMC Bruticus. I guess I'll shoot something for that to show how the add-on set gets put on. It won't be a terribly interesting video, but I'll have to shoot it. I thought I would just wait until the end just to kind of show off the add-on set at the end when I've got all the parts, but obviously the add-on set's coming out right now. And we're getting the other two limbs later someday. Things will probably slow down quite a bit because of shipping issues and factory production issues and whatever. So I've got things in the pipeline, but I have no idea when they're coming out. I've heard that the Cell 1, or was it Studio 1, or whatever they called it, whatever Zeta pretends to be when they sell it, but that Masterpiece Unicron from Zeta, I've heard that that's coming out soon. So I'm definitely getting that, so you'll see a video of that eventually. Let's see. Fun fact. This better be a fun fact. I'm girding myself. My avatar is a Lego drift I made 3 years ago, and I had that exact same crap he can't stand, needs feet implants dilemma with him. Yeah, okay. That was kind of a fun fact. It's hard to tell. Avatars are always so small. The second figure of this is coming out, question mark. Nobody actually knows. There are pictures of colored prototypes on like some of the later down the line ones. I would say that's usually a good indication that you're within 6 months of a figure coming out when you have like the colored test shots or whatever. But I honestly don't know. Sorry if I'm making a little noise here. I tried to take a drink of Sprite, and Sprite has just the nastiest habit of barfing all over me when I open it. It's always when I'm distracted that I forget that I gotta ease into the fucking Sprite. Okay, guys. Final questions. Give you a 2-minute warning. So we're halfway through 7:32 p.m. At 7:34 and a half, we'll cut off the stream, and that'll be that. And then maybe next week for the live stream, I don't have much to talk about, so we'll catch up on like Long Haul and maybe some of the Siege or Earthrise figures. I've got the new Earthrise Optimus Prime. We can discuss that next week. It's kind of a nice figure. It's ostensibly it's leader class because it comes with that trailer, but the trailer is pretty crappy. But the figure itself is like a very well done Voyager figure. So it's like not at all like Grapple with all kinds of hollows and stuff in it, but it's like actually every limb doesn't have hollows. You can turn around every limb and there's no hollows in that Optimus Prime. It's a really nice figure. Ooh, down to the 1 minute warning now. I appreciate everyone stopping by. Hopefully other viewers will drop by and look at the replay of the live stream if they're having any trouble with this figure. Maybe me doing it and showing them different angles will help them a little bit. Hopefully it'll help. Alright guys, or lady, I don't know if there's, it's probably a sausage party, but don't want to leave anyone out. If you're a unicorn or an attack helicopter, thanks for dropping by. Everyone, thanks for dropping by. I'm using guys in the generic sense. Don't demonetize me for saying the wrong thing. Good night.